Alright, I'm going to film a quick video going over how to find slope from multiple representations. This is the lesson that we did on the Google Meet today. So if you were unable to attend the Google Meet, or you just need to look back, or if you're in the Monday, Wednesday half of the class and you need a little refresher on what we did yesterday, this video will help you. So if you did not see this lesson in class or attend the Google Meet, you need to watch this video to understand what's going on. And I'm also going to go over our assignments for the day. So, task 1, focus for learning. I can find the slope from 2 points. Last week we talked about finding the slope with those slope intro stations. We did a little bit of work with the slope with that, and we're going to do some more work with slope this week. So, the slope formula is used to find the slope between 2 points, x1, y1, and x2, y2. So the slope formula is m. Remember, m is the variable that represents slope. So m equals y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. The slope is the change in y over the change in x. So this top part here that I'm going to highlight in yellow, this is the change in y. And then the bottom part, this is our change in x. So now we're going to go through and we're going to do one example together. For each way that we can find slope, so for each representation, we're going to do one problem together. And then you'll have some little assignments that you need to do on your own. So, calculate the slope between these 2 points, 4, 5, and 7, 9. The very first thing that we want to do is we want to go through it and we want to label our points, x1, y1, x2, y2. So this 4 here, this is going to be our x1 value because it is the x coordinate in the first ordered pair that we're looking at. The 5 is going to be our y1 because it is the y coordinate in the first ordered pair that we're looking at. Moving to our second ordered pair, the 7 is going to be our x2 because it is the x coordinate in the second ordered pair that we're looking at. And the 9 is going to be our y2 because it's the y coordinate in the second ordered pair that we are looking at. So the first step is you want to go through and label those. Now we're going to take these numbers and we're going to actually substitute them into the slope formula. So the slope, which is, remember, lowercase m, is equal to, from our formula, y2, which is 9, minus y1, which is 5, divided by x2, which is 7, minus x1, which is 4. And now we're going to actually go through and simplify the numerator, which is the top of the fraction, and then simplify the denominator, the bottom of the fraction. So in the numerator, 9 minus 5 is 4 over, and now in the denominator, 7 minus 4 is 3. So here our slope is 4 over 3. Our second task, task 2, our focus for learning, is I can find the slope from a table. So again, remember slope, m, which is slope, is equal to the change in y over the change in x. So this little triangle here, that's the delta symbol, it means the change in. So this right here means this, oops, I covered it up. This means the slope is equal to the change in y over the change in x. So we want to look at our table here. First we want to figure out what is the change in y. So to get from one y value to the next y value, what do you do? In other words, to get from 3 to 9, what do you do? That's your change in y. So here, our change in y, I'm going to label it, is that we add 6. Because 3 plus 6 is 9. Then we need to figure out our change in x. So we're going to go over here to the x column of the table. And we need to figure out, to get from one x value to the next, what do we do? So to get from 2 to 5, what do we do? And that's going to be our change in x. And here we will see that the change in x is that we add 3. So now we're going to take these two values for the change in y and the change in x and substitute them into our slope formula. So slope, or sorry, not the slope formula, but just the fact that slope is equal to the change in y over the change in x. So the slope is equal to our change in y is 6, we're going to put that in the numerator, over the change in x, which is 3. So we're going to put that in the denominator. Now you could leave the slope exactly like this. The slope is equal to 6 over 3. You can leave it like that. That's perfectly fine. If you want to, you can simplify it though. We can divide both the numerator and the denominator by 3. So 6 divided by 3 is 2 over 3 divided by 3 is 1. So you could simplify it that way. And then you could simplify this even more by doing 2 divided by 1 and getting 2. So any of these 3 answers would work. All right, task 3, focus for learning. I can find the slope from a graph. So here we have a graph, and we know that slope is equal to the change in y over the change in x. Right away, before we do anything, when we have a graph, we want to look at it and figure out, is our slope going to be positive, which means the line is going uphill from left to right, or is our slope going to be negative, which means the line would be going downhill from left to right. Here, our slope is going to be some negative fraction because our line is going downhill from left to right. So the slope is equal to negative, and now we need to figure out what is our change in y and what is our change in x. To do that, you want to find 2 points on the line. So I'm going to use this point right here. I'm going to use 4, 4 because it's on the line and it crosses the grid nicely, evenly at a corner here. And then I'm going to use 9, 1. What we're going to do is we are going to draw in a slope triangle. So we're going to make a right triangle, which is called a slope triangle. And on your Delta math assignment, you're going to have to draw in these slope triangles. So we're going to do the change in y first. We're going to say, hey, to get from this point to this point, I need to go down. Ooh, let me change my marker. I don't like that. I need to go down 3, which would make my change in y 3. And then I need to go to the right 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So I need to go to the right 5, which would make my change in x equal to 5. So on the Delta math, you are going to have to draw in that right triangle. And it's important that you go from one point, you're going to do the change in y first, and then you're going to click again. And then you're going to click, hey, now I'm going to click here and do the change in x on my slope triangle. So I did show that on the Google Meet, how to do those problems if you attended it. So the change in y is 3. I'm just going over this in black so it's easier to see. The change in x is equal to 5. And now we're going to take those values and put them in here for our slope. So slope is the change in y over change in x, which here is going to be 3 over 5. And again, we know that the slope is negative because our line is going downhill from left to right. All right, the final task. Given a linear equation in standard form, I can rewrite it in slope-intercept form. So here, 4y minus 4x equals 16. That is in standard form. To rewrite this equation in slope-intercept form, we're going to take the equation and solve it for y. So we want to get y on one side of the equal sign by itself. So to do that, first this minus 4x, we need to move it to the other side using an inverse operation. So the inverse of subtracting 4x is adding 4x. So we are going to add 4x to both sides of the equal sign. All right. Now when we do that, these 4x's cancel out. So on the left we have 4y. And then we have is equal to. Now here 16 and 4x, these are not like terms. They're not the same. So we cannot combine them. We're simply just going to write it as 16 plus 4x. Or you can do 4x plus 16. They both work. The order that we add numbers does not matter. All right, now we have 4 times y, but we just want y by itself. So again, we need to use an inverse operation to undo this multiplication. The inverse of multiplying is dividing. So we are going to divide all three terms in this equation by 4. So you want to literally show that you're dividing every single term up here by 4. When we do that, 4 over 4, that makes a giant 1. So we have 1y, which again you could just write as y, is equal to 16 divided by 4 is 4 plus, and then again 4 over 4, that's giant 1. So here we have 1x. Since the directions here told us to simplify all fractions, I'm going to go through and I'm going to rewrite this equation without the coefficients of 1. So here 1y, I'm just going to rewrite that as y because we know those are the same thing, is equal to 4 plus x, because we know that we don't have to write that coefficient of 1 in front of the y or in front of the x. And now we've taken our equation from standard form, we solved it for y, and now it's written in slope-intercept form. So you have 4 assignments. It looks like a lot, but each one only has a few problems, and we did the first problem for each assignment together in these notes. So all 4 of these assignments are posted on Google Classroom. The first one, slope from 2 points Google form, I think it is 4 or 5 questions, and we did the first one together. The second one, slope from a table Google form, only 3 questions, and we did the first one together. The next assignment, slope from a graph, Delta Math, and then number 4, standard to slope form, Delta Math. So your assignment for today is to complete all 4 of these mini assignments that are posted on Google Classroom.